Okay, so I'm going to kind of do a couple ways. I'm going to start off with the easiest way, and we're going to start off with the, what's that? It's already recording and everything. So for creating these sunglasses, once you've created your Illustrator file and exported it, you're going to insert a DXF. So that's here, insert DXF, and then you're going to have to select a plane. And then you click on the little file icon, and this is where you're going to browse for your DXF file. So it's going to be on your computer, so click select from your computer and it's going to crash. Alright, let's run that back. Okay, so one more time real quick. Also, you can see all of my keystrokes in the bottom left too. I'm also recording this. We'll put this on the canvas or something. You'll be able to rewatch this if you want to. And when you do, you can see the keys I'm pressing. Okay, so we're going to go insert DXF. We're going to select whichever plane we want it to be on. In this case, I'm going to go and say, hey, I want my front to be the front of my glasses. So I'm going to click on this front plane. And then I'm going to click on the little file icon and select from my computer. I'm going to go ahead and find my DXF file. So this one's from Professor DeLuca Johnson. We're going to click open. And it's going to take a sec, and then it'll pop in. It'll show up here. You should have saved it so that your units were 1 inch in Illustrator equals 1 inch on this. So I'm going to leave my units at 1 inch. These all look fine. And now you have 2D profiles that you created in Illustrator that you can now use in Fusion. So, let's see, let me...
Is it supposed to be upside down?
What's that?
Is it supposed to be upside down?
You can move it, so that's what I'm about to do. So, what I just did here is I just double-clicked on the sketch icon in your history tree down here. So now I'm in the Edit Sketch window. I'm going to select everything. And then I'm going to drop down Modify and use Move and Copy. And then this will allow me to spin it back around and drag this wherever I want it to be. So in this case, these are symmetrical. I am going to, for my personal sanity's sake, put them directly on the origin point. So you'll see in my dialog box on Move and Copy, you have a bunch of options. I'm currently on Free Move, which gives me all these little handles and tools to move stuff around. I'm going to switch that to point, and this will allow you to select a single point and then select where you want that point to be, and it snaps it right to it. So yes, I can. So I'm going to hit cancel. I am not using any tools. I'm going to select everything. You can, I think M is a default hotkey to do Move and Copy. I'm going to show you here as well. You're going to go Move/Copy. In your dialog box on the right, you have all of these options. It defaults to Free Move, which is good for just generally moving stuff around, getting stuff into place. You have Translate, which is going to give you X, Y, coordinate dragging. Rotation, you select a single point, rotate around it. I'm going to do point to point. So with point to point selected on the right hand side here, I'm going to click on my origin point, which is the point that I want to move. and then it's going to automatically change it so that I'm selecting my target point, which is where I want that origin point to be. And once I click that, it's going to automatically snap it into place. And then I can click OK. Like I said, this is just a personal sanity kind of thing. If I have something symmetrical, I like it to be symmetrical about the origin. This will come in handy later. It'll mean less work for you. So I highly, highly recommend doing that. Now you have these profiles, and you'll notice for some reason when I hover over here, it doesn't read this profile as closed. It sees this whole shape as a profile, including these shapes here. So sometimes there used to be in Autodesk Inventor an automatically fixing tool for that. Let's see if I can figure out how to do it in Fusion. All right. In this case, it is not reading this as a full shape. What you can do if you don't want to bother trying to figure everything out is you can kind of just trace over with, I'm just using a spline here. That can be the kind of fun thing about importing from other apps your geometry. So because it didn't read that, see how now the difference of when I hover over the center of this, it only selecting in gray this lens, whereas over here it selects everything. It's because it doesn't see this as a complete shape. So in this case, I just traced over it with a fit point spline. It might be if you like how you had your shape in Illustrator and you had it perfect, you might have to go back into Illustrator, clean that up, join them, and then re-export. In this case, this file came from Professor's computer, so I don't have a way to do that, so I'm just going to use this. So another nice thing about having put this directly on the center line is I can just click on that one shape. I can click mirror, select mirror line, which means I'm going to tell it that I'm going to select the line I want to mirror about. I'm just going to turn on visibility for my origin because I already have this Z line here, and that already mirrors it perfectly. It's perfectly centered and everything. So now that you've kind of cleaned that up, you have it reading these as individual closed shapes. You can just simply finish sketch and extrude. So I pressed E. You can also click on extrude up here and just click on your 2D shape and drag it out however far you want it to go. So I don't know, let's do 4 millimeters. So this is pretty flat and boring. You can you can modify this pretty easily with fillets and chamfers. And these will kind of dress up your shape here, make it feel a little more three-dimensional.
Can you pause for a second, make sure everybody's like not lost?
Yeah, shout out if anyone's lost.
You're a little different. You can extrude yours.
The other things, once I did the extrude, so you're talking about these here. So once you complete an extrude from a drawing that you've created, or from a sketch, I should say, it's going to automatically hide that sketch. So as soon as I clicked finish extrude, let me undo everything. Let's see. So I went all the way back. I just have the sketch. If you watch this little eye icon right here, once I extrude this and click OK, it automatically hides. You can toggle that back on. You just click the eye right there. So
Anybody else have any other questions, or they're stuck?
no? All right, we're doing good? Okay. So one thing that can be an issue with importing a DXF from Illustrator is doing fillets and chamfers on certain, I guess, shapes. Fusion doesn't like doing. So let's see if it's going to let me. Yeah, so in this case it's highlighting this in red. Fusion doesn't like how this shape transitions from this edge up to this edge, and it's just straight up telling me, hey, I'm not gonna do a fillet or chamfer on that. So another thing that you can do is, if you're having issues with that, like I said, you can go back and clean stuff up in Illustrator, or in this case, I'm just going to go back into this drawing here, and I'm just going to use this spline, and I'm just going to trace over everything again. It's not exactly the same as it was. I'll show you how to kind of clean everything up here as well. So you see all of these green handles. These guys, especially coming across the mirror line here, I want this one to be flat so that I don't have kind of a peaky transition like this. So I can click on this green line, I can click on this, which is going to force it to be horizontal. This will essentially force, or it'll wreck everything. Let's try that again. Okay. You'll have to do some cleanup on your own. I generally, in cases like this, let's just delete everything we got going on here. And just redo this. So I just created a half of this drawing here. You'll notice that this point here and this point here, well, this one's actually connected to the purple line, but this one I can drag around. I don't want that. I want this point to be directly above my mirror line. So I can click on the horizontal vertical. This will not only force a line to be horizontal and vertical, it will also allow you to click on two things and put them directly horizontal or vertical from each other. So I'm going to click on this point here, and I'm going to click on this purple line, or you can click on your origin point because you made everything symmetrical around it, and you'll notice it automatically snapped it to that. It's not going to let me drag it off that line anymore. So now if I go to mirror this, it's already sitting perfectly on the mirror line. What I was saying earlier about this green line here being flat, if you click that and then click on horizontal/vertical, it's gonna make this fade nicely into the other half once you mirror it. If not, you'll have this little kind of peak here, and it'll kind of W shape almost. So I'm going to do that for both the top and bottom. I'm going to horizontal vertical that one, and I'm going to horizontal vertical this one. Now I can use my mirror tool, click on this shape, click on this mirror line, which already is here because I mirrored these lenses. If you don't already have this purple line here, like that, let's see, hide that for you too. You can turn on your origin and select your origin line here. So I'm going to click here, select that line, and click OK. And now I have this full shape here. Fusion should, let's see if it does, now let me chamfer from this shape. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to do 1 millimeter. Yeah. It likes that better when you do create the shape in Fusion. It's just Fusion being picky. I don't know. So then you can go through and you can chamfer. You can, so that's under your modify tab. You can also fill it, which will make a round over. So I'm going to put 2 millimeters here, and then 2 millimeters there. Now you have a pretty simple 2D glasses shape.
Stop there for a second and make sure everybody.
Yeah, so how is everybody following?
Where is everybody stuck? If you're stuck, speak up. Like, I hope to see everybody with a extruded frame on their screen or other jewelry.
So the biggest trick that you'll run into is just cleaning up that sketch from Illustrator. In this case, like I said, I just recreated it in Fusion. It didn't want to play nicely. I'm sure there's probably a way to clean it up in Illustrator as well.
Joseph, where are you stuck at?
I'm stuck way back.
Okay.
So where do you?
I couldn't figure out how to make the holes in the frame for the lenses.
So when you hover over,
Interactive.
you just extrude everything but that hole. So, oh, do you want to put it on the other side?
Well, I need to copy, yeah, and then negative space.
You just don't do anything with it when you extrude. So hit escape. And then just press extrude. So you don't need to finish picture. So. That's E now, or you can also click on this, you can select that. Yeah, this is it being weird with how it imported. So I ran into this online. What I ended up doing was just recreating the shape with a spline
That's what I did.
in the sketch. Is your outer one a spline?
No, the other one is not.
Yeah, so that's
Just
why.
went over it.
What's that?
Just went over it again.
Yeah, just go over it again.
Right.
It's probably the easiest way, unfortunately.
Who else need, there's another question here.
I think there is a way to clean this up if you have AutoCAD. If you import the DXF in AutoCAD and then clean it up in there and bring it in here, but it's a lot of steps.
But my question really was like, I had a bunch of different joints on my printer of different, so like I did touch 37 different places. Is there a way to save that selection? Half?
Like in Fusion, you're saying when you kind of select everything?
Yeah, I selected everything before I put a chamfer on it.
So again, Fusion not liking you importing from other apps. It will usually allow you to chain selection. There's usually a check mark where you can double click on something, but because it's brought in from another app, it reads each of those as individual lines,
Yes.
so it doesn't even read much. So let me do this. Let's see if I can. I'll include this too, just for any of you that have access to AutoCAD. I'm going to see if I can clean it up in here and see if that's going to fix our problems. Obviously, this won't help everyone because probably most of you aren't taking the AutoCAD class.
Sounds like they should have just drawn it in Fusion.
Yeah, I think.
Them to prevent drawing it over in Fusion, but.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way.
Fusion isn't that easy.
Yeah, it's. So I'm gonna. You guys don't have to watch this if you don't want to. I'm gonna do this in AutoCAD. It's in the video, so be able to do this at home if you want to. I'm gonna quickly see if this is gonna work and let me clean up everything. So I'm gonna open the DXF in AutoCAD. Select them all. There. I'm going to use the command overkill. this is should connect everything for me. And then to select everything, on Mac, Command A, on Windows, Control A, and then I'm gonna again select everything and type join, and it's gonna join everything together. Now I'm going to export this and see if this works. It might not. It might. We'll see. There we go.
So you joined all the individual segments.
What's that?
You joined all the segments.
Yeah, so I use the overkill command in AutoCAD, which should basically figure out, oh, these are so close they need to be connected, and you can set that tolerance. So I'll show you again. I just selected everything and just type overkill and click enter, and then you have this tolerance difference. You can decrease the tolerance here, all this stuff. I have never touched anything. I just click OK every time, and it's worked for me for other projects. We're going to see if it works for importing into Fusion. I haven't gone from here directly to Fusion.
Yeah. The top of the. It's huge. Just don't make it too small.
All right, so I'm going to do everything again with this that I've cleaned up in AutoCAD, and we're going to see if that actually worked out. So you're going to get a refresher on inserting your DXF. I'm going to click on the plane, select my DXF file, select from my computer, and I'm going to use this time my cleaned up one in AutoCAD. It'll take a sec to load, and then you can click OK. So it's going to have created this sketch already for me. I'm going to double click it to enter into editing the sketch. I'm going to select everything here. Drop down, modify, and click move or copy. You can also press M. I'm going to flip everything around 180. And then I'm going to use my point-to-point command. So I'm going to click on point-to-point here. I'm going to click on the point that I want to be my anchor point for moving. I'm going to click on my target point of where I want it to land, and it's going to snap it into place. Okay. Now, it's still not working. Awesome. Yeah, you're probably just going to have to create everything in Fusion. Let's see. Alright, so that's your basic flat kind of two-dimensional glasses there. I'm going to quickly run through kind of some more what's called T-spline modeling for if you want to have some more complex geometries in your sunglasses. Definitely start with this just so you have it. It's relatively quick and easy. Once you have your sunglasses created kind of this style, and if you have more time, then you can go ahead and start playing around with T-spline modeling. But it can be a pain, and it's not something that I'd rely on because it's pretty easy to throw away an hour's worth of work with T-spline modeling with just one mistake that you didn't catch, and then half an hour later, you try and finish your model, and it tells you, wait, no, it's broken. So start there, but we're going to do a T-spline model now. So I'm going to start this model by inserting a canvas of an image of glasses that I already drew up. So this you can just export from Illustrator as an image file. You don't need to export as a DXF. So in this case, I think I put in my downloads. Yep, glasses drawing profile. All right, I'm going to click on, once I've selected my image, I'm going to click on the face I want it to go onto. And then, in this case, this is my front side. This doesn't really matter, but the text is backwards. If you want to flip that, just click your horizontal flip button. And now it's the right way around. It's how I want it to be. And then I'm going to click OK. Once I've clicked OK, it's going to pop up in your browser tree under Canvases. You'll right-click that and calibrate it. And you're going to need to pick some sort of dimension that you know in your glasses. In this one, fortunately, it gives me my dimensions here. So I'm just going to click on 2 points. So I just clicked with standard left-click button and then clicked again there. And in this case, that's supposed to be 53 millimeters. So I'm going to type that in and press Enter. And so that's scaled my image now. If I were to create a sketch on this plane and draw a line here to here, it's going to be about 53 millimeters. So that's what we want. We want to be calibrated with your image the same scale as you want your glasses to be. If you're not modeling in millimeters and if you know what you want it to be in inches, you can change your document settings really easily. Just drop this down here, click on the little pencil tool here, and change your unit system from millimeter to inch. Or if for some reason you're modeling in feet, you can do that too. Once I'm in here, I guess you wouldn't have created a sketch. I showed you that to show you the width there. So I'm going to delete that. Once I'm here, I have my image in place where I want it to be. I'm going to make sure that I am relatively centered. In this case, you can tell it's off a little bit from this blue line. This blue line is my origin vertical Z line. So I'm going to right-click this again in my browser tree and click Edit Canvas, and I'm just going to drag this over until it looks centered. And I'm just going to use these arrows actually. And I'm micro-adjusting by typing down here, but moving it over 2.1 millimeters looks like it perfectly centered everything for me. So I'm going to click OK. Now I have my glasses mirrored essentially over this blue line here. Now we can start jumping into our form modeling workspace. So I just clicked on Form, Create Form, and now I'm in this form creation workspace. I'm going to create this from a cylinder. So I'm going to click Cylinder, and then you're going to click on the face that you want to be looking at and seeing a cylinder. So I'm going to click on this face here, and now that's limited me to drawing a circle this way. And I'm just going to click once here, click again, and now you'll see I have this 3D cylinder. I'm going to change some stuff about it before I click OK. So I'm going to change my symmetry to mirror. I'm going to change the direction to symmetric. So now you'll notice that it went both ways over what is my center line. And then I believe, yeah, this is going to be height symmetry. So this green line, that's the line that everything's going to be symmetrical about. I'm going to adjust my height faces here. So I'm going to put only 2. So I have one on this side, one on that side. And then my diameter faces, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to go down to 6. This will just be less kind of lines and points to move around and deal with later. You can always increase this too. So don't worry if you get to a certain point on this frame and you need a more fancy shape. I'll show you how to add another line in. Alright, I'm going to click OK with that cylinder creation. And now you can see this guy's sitting perfectly centered on here, and I can start moving things around. So in this T-spline workspace, this is going to allow me to create a more organic shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click this edge, and you're going to notice it's going to loop select everything. You'll also see the orangish, kind of yellowish selection here. That's just showing you, hey, you move this, it moves that because it's mirrored. So again, I'm just double clicking this and it loop selects everything. I'm going to click modify up here, which is also the same as this edit form here. And I'm just going to start dragging stuff around and rotating things. So typically sunglasses, this little nose bridge will be kind of curved outwards, so I'm giving it a little bit of back sweep here. And then it's also going to get a little bit wider, so I'm going to use this handle here. These handles, these three, these will allow you to kind of stretch things. So in this case, you'll notice now that I've done that, this is kind of warped it upwards a little bit. It hasn't adjusted the width at all. If I want to adjust the width and height, you can use the one on the corner. In this case, looking at the front, I kind of want this to be flatter on the top and curved on the bottom. And I'm also going to rotate this down a little bit just to kind of fit this line that you can see in the background here. So there, I'm going to stretch it up a little bit more. Go a little higher, like that. Okay, now I'm going to hold down my Option key on Mac. On Windows, it's Control, maybe Alt, might be Alt. I'm going to hold that down and then click and drag, and you'll notice how it just created another loop. Super important for modeling like this to utilize that. And I'm just going to start following up this this pair of glasses here. So I'm going to go here, and then this is a little too sizable this way, so I'm going to shrink it. And my tip for this is, if you look at your curves of your glasses, you want the kind of the line, the edge of this loop to be pointing directly out of that curve, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't want this to be like this, because if you look at this curve, it looks like the center's here. So I kind of want this to be in line with that. So I'm going to rotate it to be a little more in line. That's going to make everything a little bit cleaner. Not the end of the world if you don't do that. What's that?
Perpendicular.
Yeah, basically perpendicular to tangent. I'm sure there's some math term for that, but yeah. So once I've got that perpendicular to tangent, I'm going to hold my Option key, and I'm just going to drag this out again, and it creates another loop. And I'm just going to follow around and just start rotating, make that kind of perpendicular to what I want it to be. You'll notice here I have kind of a tighter curve here. So I'm just going to put a little bit less spacing between each of these loops. So I'm going to do a short one here. I'm going to hold Option. I'm going to drag again. Gives me another one. And a short one there. And then now, for this big long curve, I'm going to do only a handful. So I'm going to do hold Option, drag this out, rotate, and then hold Option, drag it out, rotate, so on and so forth. So you get this tighter curve here because these are shorter segments, and this longer, softer curve up here because you have longer segments. I'm just going to keep following stuff around. I'm going to hold Option, click and drag, rotate, and then here where you have this kind of tighter corner, you're going to want to do a couple of your little Option holding technique just to get that tight curve. So, and you'll notice this kind of flutes outward here a little more than I want it to, so I'm just scaling it back a little bit. And I'm holding Option, dragging again, and just following along. See how that widened everything? I'm going to shrink it again. And just keep going like that. So I'm holding Option, doing this. The frame shrinks down a little more here, so I'm going to shrink it with that handle and just wrapping all the way around.
We're going pretty quick in this.
Mhm.
It looks like some of the dimensions are called out in the thicknesses and things.
Yeah.
5.1.
Mhm.
If you were to like specify that at those points, would it hold that adjustment? Or how would it?
That is a good question that I have not actually tried to dimension stuff in here. So you can like measure. So I can measure, between these two. It's going to tell me. It doesn't tell me my maximum distance, which is kind of annoying. But it gives you an idea. I don't know of a way to hard dimension stuff like that. It could exist. Do some Googling. I might just be unaware. But I'm kind of going quick because we only got a couple more minutes of class, but stop me with questions. And like I said, this is all recorded, so you'll be able to watch this back and see. It's not really, okay, it is showing my keybinds. It doesn't show when I hold Option, unfortunately. But when you see another line appear, that's because I'm holding Option, Mac, Alt, or Control on Windows. So again, with a tighter curve here, I'm going to make my kind of segments shorter. And I deselect everything. Again, double click a line to loop select. So I'm going to go shorter here. If it's not perfect, you can come back and adjust things later. So you'll notice it starts to kind of widen out here, so I'm going to drag this out a little bit. Alright, and now we have to connect it back into this shape here. So I'm going to hide my canvas for now, so that you can see everything a little bit better. So now you can see where I have to connect these together. What you can do, which is pretty simple, is just select this bottom face and just click delete. That's going to open up a big circular shape for you here. And then in this case, you're going to notice this shape has 4 segments. What you can do is you could also, I'm going to undo what I just did. I'm going to loop select this by double clicking. I'm right clicking with my mouse, and I'm going to insert an edge. I'm going to drag this down this way. So this takes us from having this being 2 segments, and it's going to make it 3 segments now. And I'm going to use that to my advantage because I'm going to delete 2 of those, and now I'm going to have 6 kind of segments here. Now, why do I want 6 segments? Well, because I have 6 segments here. So I need to match those to join it up together. So once you have kind of holes of equal segments, you're going to use your T-spline face tool. It's also down here. And you're going to notice as soon as you click, everything's going to get really boxy. It'll make it kind of easier to select everything though. And I'm just going to select 4 corner faces and just make my way around this shape, filling it in, and this is joining the the parts of your sunglasses together. If you hadn't made it so that they had equal line segments, like an equal quantity, you would make it halfway around and you would realize, wait a minute, this isn't going to work out. So that's why I made sure I had 6 line segments on the whole on both sides. Okay, so now you have kind of a more shapely pair of sunglasses, and these are really easy to do modifications to, which is awesome. So let's say these are a little too round for your liking. If you were to select, and if I loop select everything, it's going to select everything, so I don't want to. So I'm going to select all of the lines. Actually, let's do these ones here. I'm going to basically make the top of this flat. So I'm going to select all of these, coming down to right about where your arms will come off. And then I'm going to do the same here. And then I'm going to right click and click on crease. Now it gives me a nice flat top. So if you're like, okay, I just created all this sculptural thing, but it's too smooth, you can create this flat top. You can't create this flat top because it doesn't want me to. Let's see. So it's telling me it doesn't want to be creased in these areas. Let's see if that's going to let it happen. There we go. So for whatever reason, it didn't want to be creased down here. I wanted to show you that crease command so that you can have kind of more control and a more squared off edge. Let's say you want something that's kind of a harder edge, but still don't want it to be super sharp. Later on down the line, once you finish your form, you'll be able to fillet these and soften them up a little bit. So if it's too hard of an edge for you, don't worry, you can fix that later. In this case, I'm going to undo that. I like them nice and smooth. We're now going to play with a setting in modify/edit form called soft modification. So I'm going to select a couple faces here on the side, and tell you what, let's just do this. Let me window select all of these. So I'm going to select all those, and I have my soft modification on. You can see there's like slightly reddish pinkish lines here. I'm going to actually increase. I'm going to change it from distance to face count. Let's scratch that. I'm going to keep it on distance. I'm going to change this to 35 millimeters. And then now you'll notice when I move these, and I'm going to change from smooth to, let's do bulge here. When I move these selected ones, it's going to move everything else a little bit too. I'm going to rotate it as well. And so now you're soft deforming these shapes here, where normally if I moved these, it would just adjust this one. It's adjusting all of this over a little bit as well. So that gives you your nice curvature when you're looking at your sunglasses like that. So let's say that looks good and I like that contour. This is how much I want it to wrap and everything. Perfect. Now we can start creating the arms. So I'm just gonna, let's see, let's go ahead and just delete that face right there. Makes an open hole, and I'm gonna loop select it by double clicking, and we're just gonna start holding Option and dragging stuff out. And now you're starting to make your sunglasses arms. In this case, this is a little narrow. I want these a little beefier so they don't snap. So I'm gonna stretch them a little bit, and I want it to have a little more curvature to it. So I'm just going to start messing with it. I'm going to hold Option, start dragging, and just keep on adjusting things as I go. I'm going to look down on these and I'm going to say, wait a minute, this wants to be a little more contoured in. If I'm adjusting this and I want to move this as well, I can just turn on my soft modification again, change that face count. Let's do 2. And if I go ahead and rotate this and wrap it in, you'll see it's starting to bring everything with it.
I did measure it in my caliper.
All right. So once you're here, you're going to have this open hole on the bottom. I'm going to double click to loop select everything, and I should have a fill hole button. So again, I'm going to do that one more time, and it's in the video too. Loop select everything, modify, and where to go? Fill hole right here. And that fills it in right there. Boom, just like that. When you finish your form, you're going to have a pair of sunglasses, and it's going to read it as a body. If I hadn't done that fill hole at the end there, I just undid a couple times so that I haven't filled the hole at the bottom. When you finish your form, it's going to give you this icon, which you don't want. That's not going to work for 3D printing. So if you see this icon, that means you've got a hole somewhere that you're going to need to fill. So in this case, and the other nice thing is, Fusion is going to color different sides of the same face, different colors. So it colors outside gray and the inside green, yellow, puke. So just keep an eye out for that color. If you see that, that means you just have to edit your form. So you just double click in your browser tree here. And I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to modify, fill hole, loop select here, and click OK. And now it reads it as a full solid body. And that's your sunglasses. I went pretty fast. Again, this is all in a video, which I'm going to stop right now.